Hello once again. Elder Mike coming to you one more time, kind of looking at this topic of why God allows troubles to come along in our life. Why does He allow these things to happen? We looked at already, why does God allow those trials of life? Why does He allow those struggles, those perilous situations that we end up in? Why does He allow those things to come along? Today we're going to look at specifically loss. We're going to look specifically at those things that we have, that we enjoy, that God takes away, whether it be the death. We're going to talk a little bit about death, but it's not just even the death of people, but the death of things as well. Why does He allow the passing of loved ones and the sorrow that that brings? Why does He allow the death of our dreams? Why does He allow relationships that we enjoy to transition out of our lives? Why even the death of our image of ourselves? How could the death of these things be good for us? And Jesus, I love Jesus because if you need an answer, just go to Jesus, because He tells us in John 12:24, He says, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains a single seed, but it produces many seeds. When it falls to the ground and dies, what does it do? It produces many seeds, right? So while we mourn the loss of that kernel that fell to the ground, while we're mourning about that, while we're worrying about that, we worry about it. Why? Because we haven't seen the field of wheat that it produces when it falls to the ground and dies. So, God has to let some people, He has to let some places, He has to let some things pass out of our lives. Why? Not so that we can mourn, but so that that greater thing that He has for us can come to bear, so that that field of wheat can be produced, so that more important things to come can manifest themselves, so that His glory may come in our lives. And Paul spoke of this in Romans chapter 6 when he said, for we know our old self was crucified with Him, so that this body ruled by sin might be done away with, that we may no longer be slaves to sin. And now if we died with Christ, we believe that we will also live with Him. And when He speaks of sin, He doesn't just speak of those things that we often think of. We think of sin as just, fornication and murder and stealing and lying. But there's a lot of other things that take us away from God that He has to allow to die as well. Whether it's people, whether it's activities, where it's mindsets that we have, whether it's habits that we have, that sometimes take the place of God in our lives. And they have to die that Jesus might live in us. And these things we can pretty readily accept. When we see, okay, you know what, that was bad for me, that was keeping me from my relationship with God, I can understand letting those things go. But you know what, why did God have to take away or allow those things to be taken away from me that are good for me? Why did those things have to die? Why that relationship? Why did that have to die? That relationship that made me a better servant to Jesus? Why did my mom have to die, who loved God and encouraged me in God? Why did these things have to go that were good for me, that led me to Jesus? Because when Jesus said that the kernel has to fall to the ground and die to produce that many seeds, He didn't just say just the bad kernels have to fall down. Sometimes a good kernel has to fall to the ground to produce that field of wheat as well. And because that good kernels contain seed in it just as well as the bad kernel did. And the Bible shows us a lot of examples of good kernels of wheat that had to die to produce a field of wheat. If we look, there's no better example than Jesus. Jesus was a good kernel of wheat, but He had to die in order to produce what? In order to produce us. In order to produce us in that field that came from the seed of the death of that kernel. But we're going to look at a different example today. We're going to look at Moses. We're going to look at Joshua 1:1, which begins, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land that I am about to give to you. So why is it that Moses had to die? Right? Moses was a good leader. Moses spoke with God. Moses took all the things that God gave to, right? Moses extended the staff and crossed the Red Sea. Moses gave the people the law. Moses struck the rock and the water came out. Right? So Moses was a faithful servant. Why did Moses have to die? Why? Because for all the good that Moses did, he was not the one that was needed to bring them into the promised land. God needed to raise up another leader in Joshua, the warrior, to go and take the land from these people who were not going to give it over willingly. Yeah, but why did Moses have to die? Why did Moses have to die in order for Joshua to lead the people in? Because as long as Moses was alive, the people were going to be looking at Moses, and you can't look over here and follow the one over here, right? You can't look to your left and follow the one that's going to your right. So the thing is, the people would have been looking to Moses. So there are some things that are good in your life, and there are some things that have been good in your life, and there are some things that were good in your life that have to pass away. Why? Because as long as they're there, you're going to keep following them. As long as they're there, you're going to keep leaning on them, and you're never going to become that person that God has designed you to be for that great work that He has planned for you. So when that thing goes, take a moment and mourn. Take that person passes. Take the time and be sorry for the loss of that person. But don't get so blinded by the loss of that person that you miss the next gift that God is raising up to take you to the next level in your life, because God has a purpose and a plan for everything good and bad that happens in our lives. So I just encourage you, if you've experienced a loss, or if you're experiencing one right now, be encouraged in this. Your comfort is coming, and so is that thing that's going to take you to the next level in God. God bless you.